Is an Emirates first-class private suite, Dubai to Casablanca. My wife had one. I had the one next to it. We paid roughly $100 each for those seats. Here is how that happened, and how you can do it too. Welcome back to Standby Secrets. I'm Frank Hardy, and today we are talking about upgrades. Specifically, how retired airline employees consistently find themselves in premium cabins for almost nothing. This is not about credit card points. This is not about elite status programs. This is about understanding a system that has existed for decades, that most people outside the industry have never heard of. We are going to cover 4 things today: the real story behind the $0 claim, the one rule that makes or breaks your upgrade chances, how the listing system actually works, and 2 real trips, one domestic, one international, that show exactly how this plays out in practice. Let me be precise about something right away, because I want this channel to be a place you can trust. When I say $0, I mean $0 on domestic travel within the United States on your own airline. That is genuinely free. No fare, no tax, no fee. Fort Myers to Dallas, to anywhere in the US or its territories. $0. International is different. Every country charges taxes on airline travel, but non-rev travelers do not pay all the same taxes revenue passengers pay. On your own U.S. carrier, the taxes that do apply to non-revs are based on segment distance, not cabin class. Whether you are sitting in a middle seat in coach or a flagship suite, you pay exactly the same amount. The cabin is irrelevant to the calculation. We will cover situations where cabin class does affect what you pay, particularly on Z fares in certain countries, in a future episode. So the strategy is not to avoid taxes, it is to minimize them. And the way you minimize them is through 2 things: routing and booking structure. We will get to routing in a future episode. Today, I want to focus on booking structure, because this is the single most important decision you make before you ever get to the airport. Never, under any circumstances, book a round-trip non-rev ticket. Always book one way. Always. Here is why. On your own U.S. carrier, taxes are triggered by direction, not by the number of segments. You never pay tax leaving the United States, you pay when you enter. And here's the part almost nobody understands. The amount of that tax is set entirely by your departure city, not by distance, not by where you land. Take Madrid as an example. Fly Madrid to Miami, the tax is $47.13. Fly Madrid to Dallas-Fort Worth instead, same $47.13. Fly Madrid to JFK, same $47.13 again. 3 completely different U.S. destinations, thousands of miles apart, same exact tax every time, because the tax belongs to the city you left, not the city you land in. That's why routing matters so much. If you fly Osaka to Miami nonstop, the tax is set by Osaka as your departure point, full stop. But if you fly Osaka to Honolulu and then Honolulu to Miami as a separate domestic leg, something changes. The Osaka to Honolulu leg still carries Osaka's tax rate, same as it would to anywhere else. But the Honolulu to Miami leg is now domestic, 0 additional international tax. When you book one way out and one way back separately, you control that return routing independently. You can choose a different gateway city, a different carrier, a different entry point, all of which affect your tax exposure. Book round trip, and you surrender that decision before you ever leave home. My wife flew from Fort Myers to Dallas to Tokyo, one way out on American Airlines. Because it was booked one way on a domestic to international sequence on her own carrier, The entire outbound trip cost her nothing at all. The return is where the real strategy showed up. She came back through Osaka, not Tokyo's Narita airport. That matters because Narita prices, like London Heathrow, expensive. Osaka prices, like Barcelona, cheap. Same country, very different rates. That was the first saving. Then she flew Osaka to Honolulu, booked separately from the Honolulu to Miami leg. The tax on that first leg was set by Osaka's low rate. It would have been exactly the same whether she'd landed in Honolulu, Dallas, Miami, or anywhere else. The city sets the rate, not the route. Because Honolulu to Miami was booked as its own domestic segment, that leg carried zero additional tax. Two savings stacked on one return, Osaka's low departure rate and a free domestic leg home. That $56.85 from Osaka wasn't just the tax on the return, it was the entire cost of the whole trip, out and back. One way. Always. And one important note, international tax rates change over time, so always check current pricing before you fly. Now, let's talk about how you actually get on the flight, and more importantly, how you get into the front of it. Every airline uses a priority system. On American and most oneworld and mileage share partners, that system is built on the Sabre platform, which means the rules are consistent across nearly every carrier you are likely to use as a retired American employee. Delta and United use different systems, but the mechanics are comparable. Your priority class, and every airline has one, determines where you sit on the standby list. Here's the part most people do not fully understand. Checking in from a listing on American Airlines has a 24-hour prior to departure window. However, your position on the list can still change and is based entirely on your priority class. It is similar at other U.S. carriers, but may differ a bit. A D2 traveler can check in at midnight the night before departure and be first on the list. But a D1 traveler can check in 1 minute before the flight boards and go directly in front of that D2. Priority class does not just determine your position, it determines the value of your access window. Now, before you even list, you should be reading loads. Most airline portals show historical and current load data. Those data are not just a snapshot, they are a trend. Once you get good at reading it, you can spot aircraft swaps, maintenance substitutions, rescheduling patterns, and irregular operations before they are ever announced. That information tells you which flights to target, which to avoid, and when to move from your primary plan to your backup. For off-carrier travel, meaning airlines outside your own and some codeshare partners, the Z-fare system applies. Z stands for Zonal Employee Discount. It is a global network of roughly 180 airlines that have agreed to carry each other's employees, retirees, or family at a standardized discounted fare. The fare is based on distance and price tier, and we will dedicate a full episode to Z fares shortly because there is a great deal to understand there. What matters for today is this. On a Z fare, your upgrade chances are still real, but they follow the partner hierarchy. Your own airline's employees board first. Codeshare partners, what we call the family, board second. Off-brand Z passengers board after that. Let me tell you about my wife's trip to Japan last year, because it is a perfect example of everything we just covered working together in real time. You already know the routing and you already know why it was smart. What I want to tell you now is what actually happened at the gate. She was traveling as a D1, and on the Dallas to Tokyo segment, there were open economy plus seats. The gate agent upgraded 3 or 4 non-revs, my wife among them. Standard process. Right priority class, right flight, right day, dressed appropriately. She boarded in economy plus. Good seat, comfortable flight. She was happy. And then Just before pushback, a flight attendant came to her seat. The FA recognized her as a non-rev and whispered that there was a Flagship business class seat open, the only caveat being it wouldn't fully recline into a flat bed. My wife is 5 feet 9 inches tall. The seat had more than enough room for her, and between the legroom, the service, the food, the entertainment, and the Tito's, she had absolutely no complaints. She said yes. Now, here's what made this possible. The Economy Plus upgrade came from the system working exactly as designed. Priority class, timing, routing, proper attire. The Flagship upgrade came from something the system can't guarantee, but good behavior and proper presentation can always invite. A crew member with discretion, looking out for a colleague. 2 upgrades on a single segment, Dallas to Tokyo. Economy Plus at the gate, Flagship on board. And the trip home followed the exact routing we already broke down. The savings stacked exactly the way we expected they would. Now, the Emirates story. My wife and I had been in Dubai for about 4 weeks, visiting friends and examining investment property. When it was time to make our way to Spain, where we spend a great deal of time on the Costa del Sol, we needed to get from Dubai to Malaga. The most logical routing was Dubai to Casablanca on Emirates, then a short hop from Casablanca to Malaga. It was also the routing with the best upgrade probability, and we knew it. Emirates participates in the Z fare system. Their check-in window is 72 hours rather than 24, which gave us more time to watch the loads and position ourselves correctly. We listed, we monitored, we checked in, and we waited. When the upgrade cleared, we were both placed in Emirates first class, private suites, on the A380, Dubai to Casablanca. Now, what did that cost? Under the Z system, the Dubai to Casablanca distance falls into Zone 5, roughly 3,800 miles. At Z medium pricing, that fare is $74 per person. Morocco's landing taxes are minimal. The total cost for Emirates first class was approximately $100 each. $100. Private suite, Airbus A380, Emirates. That is the non-rev advantage. So, what does this mean for you? 3 things you can start doing immediately. First, book one way, every time, without exception. The combination rule will cost you money and flexibility every single time you ignore it. Second, learn to read your loads as a trend, not a snapshot. The portal is showing you more information than just today's seat count. The retirees who travel smoothly are the ones who learn to read those data. Third, understand your partner hierarchy. Each step down that ladder affects your upgrade probability. But as today's stories show, even at the Z level, Emirates First Class is not out of reach. In the next episode, we dive deep into the Z fare system, the global network that makes international non-rev travel possible, well beyond just flights, how the fare zones and price tiers work, and how smart routing can cut your tax bill dramatically. It is information you will not find anywhere else. If this kind of insider knowledge is what you have been looking for, subscribe and hit the bell. Every episode on this channel is built specifically for retired airline employees and the people traveling with them. Drop a comment and tell me your best upgrade story, or the one that got away. I read every one. I'll see you in the next video.